Hi, everyone. We are excited to welcome you back for this very special and inspirational episode of Vonti Talks with Filmmakers podcast. Our special guest today is an Oscar-winning producer for Hacksaw Ridge, Steve Longi of Longitude Entertainment in Los Angeles, California. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I am super excited because you are tuning into another conversation with Filmmakers podcast. And I am Vonti McRae, joined here by Steve Longi of Longitude Entertainment. He is the president of that business and everything. And he is also an infamous Hollywood producer. You might know him from actually winning an Oscar for Hacksaw Ridge. So, Steve, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hey, Vonti.
Hey!
Good to see you. How are you?
I am doing well. And you are, I believe, a fellow New Yorker like myself, right?
Yeah, I lived in New York, but I grew up in New Jersey, moved to New York. So, yes, I am a fellow New Yorker like you. And now I live in Los Angeles.
Exactly. And you've been there for quite some time, right? Because you've had
Yeah.
this storied history out in Hollywood. So can you tell the audience and myself as well, how long have you been in this TV, film, documentary, streaming? I mean, it's everything now, right?
It is. And I've done a little bit of all those things. I moved out to Los Angeles when I was 21 and attended various colleges. And that didn't work out. But no, I had the pleasure of seeing some really nice campuses. Pierce College, beautiful campus. Santa Monica College. These are lovely schools, but school really wasn't my thing. So it's been, I don't know, it's been over 30 years. So I've been here a long time, and they call me a transplant. So
they still
I
call
am
you a
now
transplant?
Yeah, yeah. But when
Oh
I
my
walk outside, this is the one thing. So people should know about Southern California because we do have
Absolutely.
really great weather here. And
Hmm.
I still walk outside and I still look up in the sky and go, man, what a nice day out. And like every day is exactly the same. So it's that just doesn't wear off. But when you grow up in the East Coast, like
Yeah.
in the New York area, you get a
The
little taste of
seasons
that.
change.
Yeah, and the snow and the cold and the blisters and all that stuff. So I'm not a fan of that. Some people are, but I'm
Yeah.
not. But anyway, so about 30 years here in Los Angeles.
So 30 years here in Los Angeles. And a funny story about that is I went to the Academy of Art in San Francisco for college and everything, well, grad school. And I carried an umbrella around for the first year because I always thought it was going to rain because it looks overcast every single day. So I can understand
Hmm.
what you mean by, sunny California. So, but to get back into it though, so 30 years in the industry, can you tell us, like, you mentioned like the educational background and you said, college wasn't for you. What is that journey for you? How did you actually break in and everything
Yeah, well,
into the
the
industry?
journey is this. If you're not good at college, you have to figure out a way to make money if you don't have parents supporting you, which I didn't have. So I
Hmm.
went straight into the restaurant business. And
Hmm.
yeah, that took me a while before I kind of figured out, first of all, like, what is it exactly that I want to do? Because I think, when you're young, like you have ideas, but you don't really
Hmm.
know sometimes. I didn't know, okay, specifically. I knew like movie, TV business, but I didn't know specifically what that, area would be that I would go into. So it took me some years to figure that out.
Yes.
And then it took me some time to kind of figure out, then had to, break in, right? Just get
Yeah.
that first opportunity, which is
Hmm.
really what it's all about when you're starting out. It's just trying to find opportunities. So I used the restaurant industry to make money because I had to obviously survive. I wasn't, I didn't have student loans. Well, I did actually, but I wasn't living off of them at this point. So I needed a way to finance my internships and things that I did in the movie industry. And that's how I got in. I get in just by, working for free as an intern and for college credit. And that's a great way. Like, for people just starting out. And even if
Mhm.
you're not in college, you can go to a community college, sign up for a 1 credit course, and then bring that to any production company, and you can work as an intern for a semester, and you will earn 1 credit.
Wow.
But what you'll really earn of value is the experience and contacts with people, maybe in the field or in the specific area that you want to be in. So I recommend doing that. But that was
That
sort of my trajectory. And it took maybe like 10 years, honestly, from the time I came here. It took maybe about 8 to 10 years before I finally got my
wow.
footing and figured out how to do it. So
Yes.
anyway, it takes time, and you shouldn't be afraid if you're starting out to take that time. Don't worry about it. Let
Mhm.
that time go by, do your research, figure it out, but try to figure out exactly what that thing is you want to do, and then go specifically to that area, because you don't want to, because I see people, they try to come in through different ways, but
Yes.
and they get jobs doing peripheral things in the industry, but
Yes,
that
like
that may
myself.
pay their, yeah, and that's fine. I'm not, that's, you have to do what you have to do, right? But the downside of that sometimes can be that you don't wind up in the area you want to be in.
But that was going to be my main point, Steve, that you're bringing up, which is excellent, is that, I spent a lot of time in the peripheral, but I wasn't doing the creative that I actually came to Hollywood
Hmm.
to do. But I think, Steve, what a good point to make, even though you did the 10 years of trying to figure it out, this podcast is for that, to help them try and figure it out sooner. So your main point was, hey, listen, you can go to community college, get 1 credit, or whatever the case may be, sign up for few courses and get that same access to the internships, right?
Yeah,
But
the reason,
yeah,
yeah, sorry to cut you off. The reason
no, that's
for
fine.
that, yeah, see,
This
back in
is
my
Steve
day,
Longi, guys. He's saying, sorry to cut you off. Come on now.
absolutely. Um, so I think, back in my day, you didn't really, see, there's labor laws, these things called labor laws, which are important, which are important. And
Yes.
and they weren't as enforced back in my day. So you could literally like walk into a production company and they'd bring you on as an intern. But because in the state of California, I can speak on that. There are labor laws for working for free, because you're
Mhm.
not supposed to work for free. But if you're
Yes.
doing it for college credit, then you're allowed to do it, and then these companies won't get in trouble, and they can bring you on board. And sometimes they don't even know. That's like a thing that even some of these companies aren't aware of. So you can actually go to them and say, hey, listen, I'll lend my time and energies for a full semester,
Mhm.
and I can earn 1 credit at this college, so there's no downside there. That's,
Mhm.
it's neither here nor there if you don't need it. But
Mhm.
um, and you won't get in any sort of trouble, because this is compliant with the labor code.
Which is really important. So, guys, listen to that. Steve Laundrie is letting you know about labor codes and all of that stuff in California, because we want to make sure that we're following the specific rules, and that goes for all states. So, you really got to find out what are the specs, like you mentioned, for these internships. But, Steve, before we jump back into like your journey, because we have to go back there, I feel like you're rolling right through all of that 30 years of goodness with the 10 years and stuff. I wanted to take a quick commercial break for you guys. You are tuned in to another episode of Conversations with Filmmakers. We are here with Steve Longi from Longitude Entertainment, the Oscar winning producer that has joined us and graced us on this podcast. So we will be right back. Thank you. And now, a word from one of our sponsors. After starting my podcast, I needed to hire the pros to market the content. Are you looking for digital success? Look no further. World Boss HQ is your strategic partner. Their experts turn your vision into a digital masterpiece. From stunning websites to powerful marketing, they've got you covered. Startups or established businesses, they are your one-stop solution. Visit worldbosshq.com. That is WORLDBOSSHQ.com, and unleash your potential today. World Boss HQ Digital Marketing. Your online empire awaits. We are excited to bring you this world exclusive teaser from Bad Rabbit Pictures and Movie Pods. They are presented Age of Prophecy, a sci-fi fantasy podcast done in the style of the radio dramas of yesteryear. Coming soon to all streaming platforms. Visit www.moviepods.com or www.anoukchronicles.com for all the release dates. You won't want to miss this one. Your myths were born from our history. Let's check it out.
Life. A vile, messy sequence of events before we die. All designed for something beyond us. It has to be. Or else, what's the point? You don't know me, but I know you. I am responsible for your triumphs and miseries. I am Zira Emilzor, and to truly understand your own story, you must know mine. Your myths were born from my history.
Hi there, and welcome back to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. All right, you guys, thank you. Welcome back. Conversations with Filmmakers. We were over here talking to Steve. Steve, you mentioned about being in this industry for 30 years. You did the 10 years of, really trying to figure things out. But tell me what started that passion? Because I know for me, it was like the first time that I watched Jurassic Park in theaters with the surround sound. So what started you on this path of wanting to even get into the movie industry?
Yeah, I think, it's in my blood, right? Because when I was just like 8, 9 years old, I was into it, right? So like even before I could remember,
Mhm.
or as far back as I can remember, I've always been into movies. So, maybe it was because when I was a little kid, my parents used to take me to see movies a lot. So I became a fan of cinema. And I grew up in a time when there were some great films. You mentioned Jurassic Park, that's a great film. Steven Spielberg is a great filmmaker who I certainly grew up with. And, watching Jaws
Oh
was
my goodness, yes.
honestly in a movie theater packed with people was an experience I will never forget, and the
Yes.
impact that movie had on an audience. I mean, people were literally jumping out of their seats. Like you've never seen anything like this in a movie, or I hadn't seen
At
anything
that
like this.
time, and it was so realistic as well. They did such a great job for that time.
Absolutely. And, but it showed me kind of the effect that cinema had on audiences and on people. And I'm the kind of person who's very altruistic, I guess, just by nature, and wanting to bring something positive into the world. And I want, through my filmmaking, I'm always trying to uplift. And I've made comedies, so I'm just trying to, and I'm not specifically only making comedy, but I
Mhm.
feel like uh filmmaking is a way to reach an audience and speak to an audience and affect and move an audience, and I want to
Mhm.
do that in a positive way. I've always come from that place. So
So,
so those things, sort of naturally came together. And I love the circus like world of filmmaking too. The collection of individuals, it attracts. and the creatives that it attracts. I'm really aligned, I'm a very creative person
Yes.
too. So that's another thing that attracts me to it. And the
Mhm.
kinds of people, writers, producers, directors, actors, I really feel like I align with them well. So for all these reasons, I was drawn to it. But when I was just really little, even before I could think, logically all this through, or
Yeah.
even maybe have some of these thoughts or feelings, I was drawn to it. And I was making Super 8 movies in my backyard where I would build I would
That's
build these
so
little
dope.
models, and little model houses and things and streets and telephone poles, and then I'd flood them or light them on fire, or and I'd film
you are
this.
you were
Yeah.
already into like action adventure as a little kid. You're like, how can we make this a Godzilla film in the backyard?
Exactly. Well, I watch a lot of Godzilla, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I love Godzilla. Godzilla is some of the greatest filmmaking, truly. So yeah, that I was emulating that, to be honest. And yeah, I was just really into the process of filmmaking from the perspective of like miniatures and special effects. I just found all that stuff to just be so cool, as a little kid. And so I was attempting to do that myself.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I started out when I was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. All the neighborhood kids were my actors. My garage was my sound stage, right? Because we had an East Coast garage. We also had a basement too. So I utilized that as production space. I'd be building sets in the basement, like, plywood sets with, just
Yeah, I have a
slapped
family
together.
member. My family member, they do Halloween mazes in like the
Oh,
backyard
cool.
of their place. Yeah, they like
Oh, so
invite the
cool.
yeah,
I
they
love
invite the
that.
neighborhood over and just like he gets like these plywood planks and just build stages and all these like
I
different
love
things.
that.
So, yeah, that is really nice. See, that is the kind of insight that something like this does because it's somebody at home or like, a young kid that's like not really sure what they would want to do with themselves that are like, wow, I do that already. Or somebody that literally builds like Lego castles or something like that, not realizing that creativity and talent could be utilized in this industry and stuff. So, Steve, really quickly though, and by the way, guys, you are joining us with Conversations with Filmmakers with Steve Longi. He's over here adjusting his camera. This is a Hollywood guy right here. Okay. He has to make sure he's glammed up, looking good, and that is absolutely right. So,
No, I need my team. It's filmmaking is a collaborative. I mean, I say this very seriously, and you know this. I know you know this, but
mhm,
I don't take, obviously, I don't take singular credit for anything I've done because it
mhm,
takes a large group of people. And this is
mhm.
like when people come on the set of a film who've never been on the set of a film, they always remark the same. They always go, they look around, they go, "Oh my God, I can't believe how many people are here." And it's true, it takes a lot of people to make a movie. So I'm certainly proud of my accomplishments, but I've always had partners, some of whom have done more work than me, some a little less. But it's definitely a collaboration. And I always want to stress that I don't ever want to be taking just sole credit for any of the work, right? So I
Mhm.
just always want people to remember that there's a crew involved, right?
Yes.
And we learned this in the recent strikes. And so, the writers and the actors, they were very prominent, very visible, but there are
Mhm.
crew people that are working on these films who also have, labor issues and things, and need to be compensated properly, in the
Mhm.
new media landscape. So anyway, so that's the other thing, I was saying before about being in the movie business that I love about it. It's like this
Yes.
club of people. It's like this traveling circus of
Yes.
of of craftsmen and passionate people and creatives, right? Who go on this journey to create something special. And
And
so
guys,
I love being a part of that.
yeah, and guys, if you've never seen a carnival being set up, they move in unison. It's done in like a day, and it's also taken down in like a day, and they move on to the next town. And so, using that analogy is really great, Steve, because you've seen it being on set with these different scenes being set up, locations, all of that. They move in unison, and that's another reason why, again, I wanted to start this kind of podcast, is to spotlight people like yourself and those crew members that usually get overlooked, because people are going in the theaters to watch Jaws and all of these great films, but they don't realize there's really passionate people behind the camera that definitely want to do this, right?
Yeah, who are just, again, celebrities are the ones that get all the play in the media or what have you. But yeah, there's, the industry is mostly made up of people like you and me, like the audience. They're quote unquote regular people,
Yes,
they're craftsmen, they're technicians, they're cameramen. They're, again, there's just all these facets. And, that's also good for someone to know, I think, who's trying to break into the business, is
hmm,
that you don't have to just be at the top, right? You can have a really great life, make a really good living at various levels of the industry, right? It's
absolutely.
not just the people at the top, but of course they get they have the most visibility, but
Well, not
they're
anymore, Steve.
not anymore. That's
Not
right.
anymore.
Your podcast is putting an end to that for sure. So
I mean, but
this is why we support it.
exactly. But honestly, though, nothing against talent, like you mentioned, but again, it's learning that trade, right? So when people do come to Hollywood, there's people that come here, lose everything, and then head back home to their small town or something like that, where they didn't get that dream fulfilled because they did not know people like yourself and other crew members out there. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break. You are here with Conversations with Filmmakers. We have Steve Longi here from Longitude Entertainment. We will be right back. Steve, can you do me a favor? Adjust your camera. Yeah, it keeps going in and out. I think it's because your curtains or your blinds in the back are open. So
Oh yeah.
it's closing your aperture down. I think that's what it is.
Yep. Yep. See, I need you on the crew.
Yeah, listen,
Need you
any
on the
day.
crew.
Listen, any day I will even come in and volunteer. Screw them labor laws. All
This is
right,
why I need help. This is why I need help. All right, let's
no.
see. Make sure this thing is.
Now, an exciting message from our sponsors. When I decided to launch this podcast, I had the tools to find talent and market the show, but needed a skilled editor to bring it all to life. That's when I turned to Jacob Daly at redhawk.uk. His collaborative approach and swift revisions transformed my vision into reality. redhawk.uk, your one-stop solution for creative content services. Reach out to them. Now a word from another of our supporting sponsors, that is Realm IQ, a new AI consultancy started by film marketing veteran Kurt Doty, who has built an international team of AI mentors to help AI change management for your business. Go to www.curtdoty.co/Realm IQ. Smart people for smart adoption, creating smart worlds. Realm IQ. Book your AI workshop today. Adopt or perish. Hi there, and welcome back to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. We are back with Conversations with Filmmakers. And Steve, we were just talking about all the different roles and positions and the education and all of that. But I want to go back to your journey yourself. So I know that it happened many, many moons ago. But can you remember that first production and the position that you had when you were on there?
Yeah, like when I was in the very first one, I'm trying to remember like the very first time when
That you
I
knew
was
it was for you.
well, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that probably before I showed up. I'm just what I'm remembering is a commercial shoot. Well, actually, no, wait, sorry. You know what? This is gonna date me, but they were
Oh,
shooting King
please.
Kong in New York,
Nice.
and this is back in the 70s, and I begged my parents to take me to go see them film this thing. And there was literally nothing to see because we were so far away from the action, and just there were like 300 people there, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just, on a street corner trying to see what was going on. And I could see they had this big uh, uh, model of King Kong, laying on the concrete, on the smashed concrete. And that was cool. So I could see that.
Yeah,
But I think that was like my very first time I'd ever like actually been close at all to like any sort of film set or movie set, I think. And then after that, I got invited because I was working in the restaurant business on the East Coast,
mm-hmm.
and somebody I was that used to come in the restaurant, he used to operate the what do you call the thing with the words on it? The teleprompter.
Oh
He
yes.
was so old school teleprompters. He used to actually type it out on this paper, and then it was like scrolls, and he put these
Oh,
scrolls inside this machine, and then he'd set the machine up, and he had a little electronic thing that would scroll it to the speed of the person talking. He'd have to
really?
Yeah, so this is his specialty. This is what his specialty was in the set. So you have to know how to do this because you have to know how to, run the scroll at the proper speed for the person talking. So it's a whole thing.
Exactly.
And and he's like, "Hey, come on, I'll get you in the union. I'll teach you how to be a teleprompter operator," and I was so grateful for that, but I didn't think that was my future, but he invited me to come see him on a commercial that he was shooting, and that was I went into New York City. Like, I was from the suburbs of New Jersey, so
Mm-hmm.
we'd go into the city every once in a while, but this was like really cool because I was going to see something being filmed, and
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be on the set, and that was great. Like, that was really cool for me to experience. But I think, even before I'd been on set, I would have already been bitten by the bug.
Yeah, you already
You
been
know?
bitten, but that's
Yeah.
really nice though, because that's another thing that people don't realize a lot of times it's that networking, because at the end of the day, that guy didn't need to say, hey, why don't you come on set or do you want to join or anything.
Right.
It's all about that networking and being outgoing. And he obviously saw your passion, right? So he's just like, you know what, guy, listen, come on, New Jersey. You got
Yeah.
it.
People will help you if you express your passion. Like, you have to be vocal about what you want in life sometimes, not in a bragging way, or in order to create it, you have to state it, you know and you have to be clear about what your goals are. That's really important for success, is to be really clear about where that thing is, that you got it where you got it, that thing that you're trying to achieve. You got to really visualize yourself attaining that and being in that place, right? And being sort of specific about what that is. And when you go out and you express this to the world, that's what helps create it. And sometimes that can be created by people around you who appreciate your passion, or just appreciate you as a person and want to help out. And there are a lot of people who want to do this. And I always say to people who are breaking into the business, I say this to like to women, or to anybody who's like part of, a group, right?
Yeah.
So there are other women looking to help women, right? That's
Mhm.
they actually are members of associations and things dedicated to uplifting women in in the professional ranks and things.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of these types of organizations, for various groups. And so, if there's a group that can associate with, find that group of people and associate with them, because they're there to help. They want to help. They know how hard it is for how challenging it can be for everybody, right? And for certain groups of people, it can be more challenging. There could be less opportunities, perhaps. So
Yeah.
those folks, can really help open up and broaden your horizons as to what opportunities might be out there.
And Steve, you brought up a good point. We had a young woman on here called Chris Wareji. She created 600 Black women out of an organization out of New York, and it was for cinematographers. So when she first joined, it was like the union throughout the U.S., and they realized there were only that they knew of 25 Black women in the union. So she's dedicated herself to trying to change that and get it up to a really great number. So that's what they do is they network, they do workshops, they get together. So I think that's very pivotal of what you're saying. And then a lot of times I'm sure throughout your career, Steve, you've probably met people along the way at different productions that then became a part of your team, correct?
Oh, let me tell you this. So I meet people. So I'm on the phone last week,
Yes.
and it's the company that bought this last movie that I made, and so
Hmm.
they're going to distribute it. And he says,
Yes.
"Oh, Steve, by the way, we've met before." And so, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Well, he's like, "Yeah, I was an intern on one of your movies." And I'm like, "All right, uh-oh."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I was like, no, but I'm very nice to the crew and everything. And, but I was teasing him. I'm like, how bad was I? And he's like, no, no, you were great and everything. But what you find is not only, and, now he's part of my team, but, now he's in a higher position on my team, right? So
Mhm.
it's like now I have to kiss up to him, right?
Nah.
And which is fine, and that's a very real thing in life and in the business. Yes, people catch up to you, sometimes they surpass you, but that's why you must always keep your relationships good.
Mhm.
Always have strong relationships, always protect your relationships, and always keep your reputation solid. So that's
Absolutely.
really important because people don't realize, I don't think, Hollywood's a real small town. It's
Yes.
really small. It's really,
It's
really small.
it
Yeah.
is absolutely small, especially with
Yeah.
the big players. It's a very small pool. And I think, that's why I'm so honored to have somebody like yourself to even come on the podcast. And what I will say going back is like, I don't think you got to kiss up to that guy. He's probably honored to work with you. You know what I mean?
I'm
It's like,
honored to work with him.
yeah, you
Listen,
both are honored to work with each other, Steve. But
it's not it's never an ego thing.
yeah, but
It
I
might
think
be
that's what makes you so humble, and I appreciate that about you.
thank you.
It's like you're very down to earth, you're very approachable, and you're very open to teaching. And speaking
Thanks.
of that, I love when we had a conversation the other day, and I don't want to, get too much into the spirituality thing, but I thought it was so great that what you said about, the conversation that you had with God. Would you mind sharing that on like what you asked him for? Because everybody's like, I want all the money, I want all the fame, I want the Lambo, I want this, that, and the third. But I was
Yeah,
hoping,
I don't, let me just, sorry.
here he goes again. Listen, you guys, don't mind him. This is a Hollywood producer. He does not have his film crew with him today, so he's going to keep touching this camera.
We're gonna make sure this lighting is good. We're gonna make sure I look good because I care about that kind of thing. No, not really.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, the only thing, I think what I was telling you is that there's just one thing I really ask God for in life, and that's perfect health. And I've been blessed with like the most amazing health. That's the one thing I feel like if I have that, then I can do all the rest. Okay. So if I feel good, if I'm not dealing with any health issues, right? If I'm not in any pain, I can go out and achieve just about anything, right? I could have the energy to go out and do all that. So that's really all I ask for is just, dear God, when I wake up in the morning, I just want to feel good. I just want to be healthy. I just want to have the energy and the stamina. Just bless me with that. I'll take it from here on out. So that's really my only thing when it comes to like, putting it out there into the universe or asking for anything. Because as a producer, you've got to be pretty self starting, and you've got to be the one to go out there and cause things to happen, because people they just don't come to you even when you're working. And like when I was working as an executive at film companies, people
Mhm.
wouldn't just come to me and hand me opportunities necessarily. I had to go out and chase them. I had
Mhm.
to go make things happen. So you
Absolutely.
really do have to be that kind of person who has the wherewithal to go out and do that every day, and create it. Create it before. And I always say, create it before you make it, which is a version of fake it till you make it. But we don't
Yes,
like fake. We don't like to be fake, right?
yes, at all.
We're going to replace that with create it. So create it until you make it. So I think that's an important thing, to mirror if there's a certain thing you want to do. So if it's being a cinematographer, okay, you want to find out, okay, what does that look like? What does a cinematographer look like? How does he dress? Or how does she dress? Or how do they dress? What do they read every day? What's their trade publication? Who are their, heroes? Who are the people they admire? Who are the people they're working with and listening to, right? And, where are they congregating? Right. So you want to figure out, okay, what does being a successful cinematographer look like? And then, or being a successful producer, what does that look like? Or whatever that may be in life. And you want to go try to mirror that. And that's a really powerful technique, and that's a technique used in conversation as well. Like when you're talking to somebody, to start to mirror what their movements are and things that
Yes.
can really connect you. And it's really what it's all about, is connection.
Exactly. And I love that you said that, because I do career counseling sometimes, and I tell people that when you're doing an interview, mirror the room. So if they're not high energy, don't go in there looking crazy, because not that engagement isn't the same. You have to give that eye connection and stuff, even on a Zoom call. So we're having a great time, by the way, Steve, and I love it. So, but before we go to the next step, let's just go to a quick commercial break. So you guys, you're listening to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. We have Steve Longi here from Longitude Entertainment. This producer is for hire. He's tired of chasing you guys, by the way. I'm just kidding, but we'll be right back, you guys. You've just tuned into an episode of Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. We'd like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their knowledge. This has been a production of Vonti Pictures, hosted by me, Vonti McRae, a screenwriter and producer. We'd also like to thank Bad Rabbit Pictures for the animated content and creator of upcoming podcast Age of Prophecy, along with our sponsor, redhawk.uk, with all episodes being edited by Jacob Daly, director, producer, and a man of many talents. Come back next week as this saga continues for the Conversations with Filmmakers podcast.